Welcome back to True Democrats, where we kind of help to push the Democrats forward a bit. And as you can tell, we're not doing a very good job because they're stuck in a stalemate with probably the greatest threat to this country ever. And it's domestically the Republican Party. And the Democrats cannot shake these guys. They cannot win in Republican conservative areas of this country. And the main reason for that is the fact that they don't even try. And of course, they have witless slogans, ridiculous slogans, totally out of place slogans. They don't know what kind of issues to go into those conservative towns and cities and states and know how to campaign. And you see what we have right here. We have 50-50 split in the Senate, and we have, although that is the Democrats' advantage because we do have Vice President Kamala Harris as the tie-breaking vote. But then you've also lost seats in the House, which is just absurd. And just another reason why Speaker Nancy Pelosi's got to step down. New leadership. I hate to say younger leadership, but people that are not afraid to venture in these conservative areas and just start pounding with the Republicans' own record. But there is news today on Marjorie Taylor Greene's expulsion, I guess you can call it, from any kind of committee. And she shouldn't be anywhere, never mind being in government, but she should have got expelled from any kind of committee. Should have been, the fact that she's even doing America's business is just ridiculous. But she got expelled. She got voted out. I guess that's completely all Democratic votes. I don't know if any, oh no, I believe about 10 Republicans voted to, or maybe I'm having them confused with voting against President Trump. But either way, the Republican Party and hence this country is in huge trouble when its biggest problem and biggest threat is a member of its political establishment, the Republican Party. And they know that these people, Marjorie Taylor Greene and these other right-wingers that got in, believe in these QAnon conspiracies, backing Trump, backing the insurrection at the Capitol, these people know that they're wrong. Marjorie Taylor Greene erased her Facebook page, got rid of these advertisements of her holding high-caliber weapons with the members of the crew or the squad, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the others in a picture and talking about assassinating members of the Democratic caucus. They know it's wrong. So it's not like, they're talking tough. They're talking about violence against the opposition of a political party, which everybody knows is wrong. And yet they continue to do it because they get away with it. And they've won seats. It's unbelievable, but they've won seats. And this used to be 20, 30 years ago, just unheard of, that this kind of talk was suppressed, that this was looked down upon, that there was no place in American politics for this kind of talk. And it doesn't, has no place. In a capitalist society, in a democratic elected republic, it has no place. You have different ideas and you go up there and you debate them and then you let the voters decide. Nobody's taking a gun. Nobody's talking about committing assassinations. That is for third world countries. That's for dictatorships and has no place. So these people know that it's wrong, but it wins them elections. These common folks that get upset and think it's the Democrats. They make up, pedophiles. They call Democrats pedophiles. Just total made up stuff that they believe. And they want to believe everything because they're wrong about everything. They have a bad situation in life, which the Republicans are responsible for. But the Democrats, the main reason for this is that the Democrats do not challenge the Republican policies in these conservative states. And this is what happens. We have these kind of candidates. But also, listen, I blame a lot of the Democrats for not getting strong and going toe-to-toe with these Republicans in all these elections. But the Republican Party has brought this upon itself. There's no doubt about it. You can't blame anybody else but the Republican Party. And it all started with Nixon and getting those Southern judges that were racist, and the media came out and showed him that he had racist judges. And of course, he had to get rid of those racist judges and try to put more moderate judges in. And that's the beginning of the liberal media, and the media is to blame for everything. And of course, the media is to blame for everything for these right wingers, because what they do is they put a light on all the Republicans' policies and how these policies cripple and hurt the same people who elect them into office. The whole Republican Party and the echelon, the ones that are making the decisions, are the wealthy, the corporations, the millionaires and billionaires who don't want to pay their taxes. They want to have all the power. They want to make it easy for themselves. So they decide, the corporations, they want less regulation. They want to try to get as much product out without regulation, so we don't make sure that it's safety. We don't look at safety, or they don't look at safety. And of course, nobody would vote for them. The majority of this country would not even vote for them because it goes against their principles and policies. Regulating the banks. They don't want to regulate the banks, and we have economic crashes. They don't want to regulate businesses. And of course, when a car is defective and it crashes and it kills people, they don't want to be liable for that. So there's a small group at the top of the Republican Party who has control. But they can't get the votes because they know everybody doesn't like the millionaires, billionaires, and corporations having the power over them. So what do? They have what they call in Nixon's era the Southern strategy. Let's get the racists out. Let's bait them. Talk about the blacks are going to take over their jobs. The Mexicans are going to take over their jobs. The immigrants are going to take over their jobs. And that's how they get Republicans, how these Republicans get votes. But the continuation of this was going to bite them. They have these people that are starting to believe in these crazy conspiracy theories that the Jews are in charge and the Jews are taking their jobs away, that the Mexicans are taking their jobs away. Everything was okay for the Republican Party as long as they got the votes. They can manipulate these racists, the Midwestern and the Southern whites, and get the votes. And of course, all their policies, when these Republicans get in there, have nothing to do. They don't raise wages. They do not have any kind of capitalist society. They talk about capitalism, but all it is give away to corporations. Nothing else. Nothing. Get rid of their health coverage for these people that vote for them, that are living below or on poverty. I mean, it's just absurd. But then it was going to come back and bite them, and it has. The conspiracy theorists are coming back, and now they're infiltrating the Republican Party, and they're starting to gain. Listen, the leadership of the Republican Party want to get in power, so they said, okay, let's allow this to happen. Let's allow these conspiracy theorists to come up here. As long as we're in power, we can keep them in shape. But they're starting to lose their grip. They're starting to look at Kevin McCarthy, the minority leader in the House, said that this was the attack on the Capitol. There was a lot of people to blame, he said. But then he also said that President Trump was to blame. And of course, the base of the Republican Party, who are all these conspiracy theorists and racists, started to go after him, and he got nervous. So to quiet them down, he went down to Mar-a-Lago in Florida and had his picture taken and shook his hand with Donald Trump, the biggest criminal that this country's ever elected president. This country didn't elect him president. It was on an archaic system of the Electoral College that got him elected the first time. But he went there and kissed the ring, as they say, to this dictator. And still, Kevin McCarthy, who is the minority leader of the Republican Party in the House of Representatives, still to this day has not said that Joe Biden was a legitimate winner of this election. So the Republicans are in big trouble. Well, this country's in big trouble since the Republicans have kind of gone total crazy on everybody. But the Republicans know it's wrong. And I love how they blame the media. They blame the media for, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene blames the media. Well, the media spotlighted everything you did, but it's all your actions. All these QAnon conspiracies, this attack on the Capitol, talking about assassinating Democratic members of the House of Representatives. And, of course, she knows it's wrong, so she tried to get rid of it, tried to erase her Facebook page, Instagram posts, everything. And, of course, that's another problem, too. I mean, we've got to regulate Facebook. We've got to regulate Instagram and Twitter. People have to be held accountable for lies, for this spreading of calling Democrats pedophilia. I mean, it's just, and they don't have to prove anything. The liberal media can get sued if they give false information. That's why they double check it and triple check it, and that's why the Republicans hate it. They have Fox News, who in the beginning of this pandemic told people to go out and take their families out to dinner in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, they have to be held responsible for these lives that have been lost by listening to this propaganda station. They got to stop calling this a news organization. They have to call it a propaganda channel. Maria Bartiromo got on after the election and said that President Trump President Trump won the election, but showed no evidence. President Trump people went to 90 judges, in front of 90 judges, and had no evidence. In all 90 judges, Democrat and Republican both threw their challenges out because they came with no evidence. This station and those people have to be held responsible. It's not a question of opinion. It's a question of facts, and a lot of people, a lot of simple minds out there in the middle of this country believe everything they listen to for Fox News. Fox News has got to be held responsible. They've got to be put in front of committees under oath and asked, where's this evidence? If you're going to spread this, what is your evidence that there's no pandemic going around, no virus, that you're threatening the lives of Americans by giving them false information? There has to be a challenge against Fox propaganda and the Republican Party and this misinformation. Talking about misinformation, let's talk about, I'm not quite sure of the mindset of the Democratic Party, but during Obama administration and now Joe Biden, who's been there less than a month, talk is about a bipartisan legislation. We need to get Republican votes on this bill for the budget. We need to get Republican votes. Why? Not once do you hear this kind of talk when the Republicans are in charge, when there's a Republican president, when they want to have millionaires, billionaires, and corporations rip this country off by not paying their taxes. Do they ask for Democratic votes? We need to get Democratic votes. Let's compromise on this tax giveaway that we give to corporations. Let's ask the Democrats. The Democrats want the Republicans and millionaires and billionaires to give back to this country. Let's negotiate. No, they don't say this. They ram their legislation and their bills right down the throats of everybody. They go behind closed doors. They write their economic policies on napkins, and in the last minute, vote on it. So why did the Democrats say, okay, in order to fix Republican messes, in order to fix this economic collapse the Republicans have given us, let's get some Republican votes on this legislation? Whose idea was this? I don't understand what the purpose of this is. Listen, if Democrats want to know how to crash the economy, we'll ask for Republican input. If the Democrats want to know how to get terrorists to get a report that says terrorists are going to attack this country, but let's go on vacation anyway and not do anything about it, we'll talk to the Republicans about it. When the Republicans, if the Democrats want to allow pandemics to run through this country unheeded and unstopped, let's talk to the Republican Party about this. If we want to invade a country based on false evidence, we could talk to the Republican Party about it. If we want to allow these corporations to put poison in our water, to allow them to have free liability so they're not sued over poor products that kill people, let's talk to the Republican Party. That's what we can talk and negotiate with the Republican Party about. But the Democrats don't do that. They have no interest in that. They're interested in governing this country and making this country stronger. And talking and negotiating with Republicans to cripple that is just useless. We're trying to fix the mess once again that the Republicans have made out of this country. Why are we negotiating? It's unbelievable. Can somebody just say that in government? We're tired of negotiating. And look at what they're negotiating. The disaster relief bill that President Biden has put up for $1.9 trillion has something like $300 billion for state and local governments because they're getting squashed. They're getting crushed with this pandemic. The fire department, the police department, the hospitals are all getting squashed and they're running out of money for this pandemic. So they have it's more than about $300 billion in the relief bill. So the Republicans come along with their $600 billion bill and offer it and say, okay, let's negotiate. You know how much they have for local governments? Nothing. Zero. A fat zero. So basically, and by the way, that's defund the police. Remember, they won elections saying that the Democrats are going to defund the police. But here's the actual proof in the pudding. $0 for local governments, which means that local governments can't fund the police departments, never mind the hospitals and the fire departments. So who's defunding the police? The Republican Party. But this is what we're negotiating with. This is what we want, bipartisan. They come in, they're useless. And who are the people that came here? These are the moderate Republicans. These are the Mitt Romneys and the Susan Collins, who are legitimate, you wouldn't put them in a straitjacket and throw them into the loony bin right off the bat, but you probably wouldn't invite them over for Thanksgiving dinner either. But this is the offer they came up, which is completely useless and does nothing for this country whatsoever. So, I mean, why would you even negotiate with them? This is the policies and what our government is facing now. And thank goodness Joe Biden says, okay, you're not going to give me anything. I'm going full speed ahead as well as he should to go and get this relief package done. Again, why do you ask for Republicans to get on here when the Republicans are responsible? Every single one of them who didn't denounce Donald Trump, Mitt Romney here and there, Susan Collins flaked plenty of times. There is no need to ask them for anything to have to do with this legislation. But we have a lot of fun things coming up in government. Let's see what the Democrats can do to hold off these Republicans and their lies. We have Jamie Harrison in charge of the Democratic National Committee, who lost the Senate seat challenge in South Carolina to Lindsey Graham. Why on earth is he given that position when Lindsey Graham should not even be in a job? He's completely useless. You got to come up with a challenger, someone who's stronger, someone whose tagline is just not hope anymore. We don't need hope. What we need is challenging. We need to go toe-to-toe. Have your ideas. Our ideas are better than the Republicans. That's what we need. But we'll discuss that at another time. It's good to be back here again. And this is Adam Carr, again, with True Democrats. Let's keep the faith and let's light the fire on these Democrats and kind of push them back into the ring to challenge these Republicans. Hope everybody has a safe and good weekend. Super Bowl this Sunday. We shall talk after that, and let's have ourselves a good weekend. All right. Signing off.